All right, welcome back. Sounds from the Crowd weekly recap. We're July 12th, 2020. We got DB in Houston, Texas, Raina in Austin, and me and Danny are over here in San Antonio, Texas. Boys, how we doing today?
Not too bad.
Back
Beautiful.
for
I
the
love
week,
the
another
fact,
COVID week.
Paul, you look like you got LSU gear on there, which
No,
I
no,
like. So,
no, purple and gold, wrong purple and gold. So DB, you did a little traveling. We went into the hot zone, huh?
yeah, I live in Houston, which isn't doing so hot, and
Well, one
I
hot zone
decided
to another hot zone, I should
I
say.
decided what better idea than to go to the Panhandle of Florida. Um, I saw more unique Donald Trump flags than I've ever seen. These aren't just "Make America Great Again." These are to be fair, they're clever flags. But God, those people don't give a fuck, man. I was wearing
Yeah,
a
Florida is
mask
different.
into like CVS, and I seemed like I was weird for wearing a mask. I mean, it was crazy.
Yeah, yeah,
Shout out
yeah.
Ron
That's oh
DeSantis.
man,
Nice work,
yeah.
jackass.
Yeah.
Another
So,
dream.
yeah. I mean, we had a fun sports week, or as fun as it can be right now, right? With no North American sports coming along, we got some Patty Mahomes news here. Half a Billy, right? So we've
Yes.
heard we've heard the figures, and we kind of seen what's going on. First of all, Danny, give me your thoughts on the whole structure and your thoughts on $500 million for NFL quarterback.
So my issue is not with thinking that Pat Mahomes deserves it. I think he's done everything right. He's like the face and poster boy of what the NFL wants all their athletes to be. I think. Um, I'm more concerned with the sport that he's involved in, like the longevity of the career. I don't think that he'll. I don't know that he'll play quarterback for another 10 years. The way he plays the game, he's such a mobile quarterback, relies on his legs so much that you guys know one
Yeah.
injury is all it takes,
Yeah.
and so that's that's where that's where my issue with it's not really so much the number. It's are they gonna are they gonna get their money's worth over the longevity of that? And I just don't think so. I don't see that happening. I mean,
I,
granted,
I
who knows how much money they make just off Pat Mahomes jerseys, but that's what I mean by where I'm going with it.
I
Right, and
totally
look
agree
at.
with you, Danny.
Go ahead.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say that's 10 years is a long time to commit to somebody in this sport, or in that sport at least in
Right.
football. Yeah.
Yeah, and then look at what happened with my boy Cam Newton. He was the rising star. He got to the Super Bowl, was an MVP, and he got hurt. In the last couple seasons,
Hey,
he hasn't been the same, and he's actually built stronger than Pat Mahomes. You know what I mean? He's
To
a
be
bigger
fair, though,
dude.
Cam
He's
Newton's was a fifth of Patty Mahomes' money, right? So
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's a little
yeah,
easier
yeah.
one to
No, yeah.
swallow.
Well, just to Danny's point of longevity and
longevity. Yeah.
Yeah,
durability. And I kind of made this point too, is like, yeah, he is. Like Pat Mahomes is a different breed. Like he's by far the LeBron James of the NFL, right? Like
Right.
you put him on any team, and he's going to make that team an instant playoff contender, right? You can put him on the Bengals, and the Bengals are in the playoffs. Do you agree?
Yeah.
Right? The Dolphins, and they're in the playoffs. Like it's crazy because you don't see that much in the NFL, right? Maybe Aaron Rodgers, right? During his day, maybe Aaron Rodgers, but NFL is such a team sport that it's really hard for one player to make a big difference. The way that Patrick Mahomes, you think back to that Super Bowl throw when he hit Tyreek Hill for that third
Yeah.
down or fourth down conversion, like only Pat Mahomes makes that play.
think
Yeah. He
about
was the reason they won the Super Bowl.
think
Yeah,
And
about
Jimmy
Mahomes
Garoppolo
in the
was the
sense
reason
that
they didn't win the Super Bowl.
so Mahomes is. I don't think anyone would say that there's a better quarterback in the NFL. He's the best quarterback in the NFL. It's been a long time since you could say that because there was debates over
Right.
Peyton and Brady. There are debates over, like
right. Aaron Rodgers,
everyone would
Tom
say
Brady. Yeah.
Mahomes is your guy, right? And
Yeah.
that's pretty unique. But I think he's that special.
I would wait on what we can say about Lamar Jackson. I think
Sure,
there are some
that's a good point.
limitations for him, but
Yeah.
I do see whatever he did this year from last year or from the year before, I guess. I mean, that was a huge jump. That guy has a lot of talent too, and I think there might be something to be said about it. But I agree right now. Patrick Mahomes is the number one quarterback, undisputed.
So we're talking about $500 million, right? And whether he gets all 500 million or not, that's another story. But different sports. Like I said, I think LeBron James would probably be a basketball player that is going to be able to make $500 million at some point in his career, right? Who else we got?
So for me, when I think of like a couple of soccer guys, and they suffer from the fact that they're on the back ends of their careers, but Messi and Ronaldo are absolutely $500 million players. The unique aspect of Mahomes is Mahomes going to make more money outside with his endorsements. Soccer players don't make as much from salaries, but you look at like Messi and Ronaldo were Adidas and Nike's workhorses for the last 10 years. And they had basically a GOAT debate the entire time that they were competing. So those guys suffer from the fact that they're about done now and the market's kind of being reset. But if
He's a young guy.
if you had a 21-year-old Ronaldo right now, he's a $500 million or $500 million player, absolutely.
Is there anybody young that would be worth that right now?
The Pulisic?
Pulisic
still too early, but
it's probably a little early to call him a $500 million player. And just given,
here's the thing. So, like in stocks, for instance, everyone's like, "I wish I would have invested in Apple. I wish I would have invested in Amazon." No one knows who's blowing up. So that means you're putting $500 million into somebody you don't know is going to blow up yet. That's why it's a real tough subject. It's easier after the career's done.
Yeah, but I don't think you could. I
love
love
a $500 million player.
I love Christian, but get the damn national team to the World Cup before we can call you a $500 million player.
There are more issues than just Christian Pulisic with the entire organization of U.S. Soccer.
I believe that we will win.
Raina, do you have anybody? I'm sorry, Danny, you got somebody?
Yeah, the sport isn't structured this way, but it's easy to look back, hindsight. Tiger Woods. Think about how much money he's. Like, how many people started playing golf because of Tiger Woods? The sport grew.
Sure.
Nike, how much money Nike made? I mean, it's insane. So I think, and I mean, he's earned more than that. If in just golf, like on the course, I don't know about that, but I mean,
endorsements, and I guess kind of similar to what DB was talking about. And then you're also in control of your own destiny at that point too, because you win the majors and you're getting millions. Raina, what do you got?
He also made the restaurant chain Perkins relevant because of his affinity for their waitresses.
All right. If I'm going NBA, so I'm going to go NBA. I'm not doing Giannis. I don't think 10 years. I don't want Giannis. I want Luka. And I think at his age, at 21, if I'm going to invest 10 years in somebody, I like his international appeal. I love what he does for Dallas. His personality, he's very Dirk-like too. They're very charismatic people, European guys can ball. I trust 10 years with Luka, so I'm going to go with Luka as my pick.
I like Luka. I like Luka a lot. The only hesitation and it's all hypotheticals is he was hurt a lot this year. He got hurt quite a bit this year. He's hurt his back, and so that's just like anything else, just like Danny said at the top, injury risk is always going to be there.
Patty Mahomes got his knee turned around. He got hurt this year. That's sports.
Forget about that. Yeah.
I think Lucas, he's at that age where he probably doesn't have to watch after and take care of his body the way some of the older vets do. So I think he's still learning how to take care of himself.
That's true.
I always think back to the first thing I thought of with Pat Mahomes was, remember when Mike Vick broke his leg? And Mike Vick was the fastest dude out there.
Yeah.
And if he got caught and got his, and got his leg broken, I mean that. So
but
and that's different because also Mike Vick was he if you watched his documentary, he wasn't taking football seriously at that time. I don't believe, or maybe it's later on during his career.
but
he
the
was
sport.
also less protected than quarterbacks today. That's for sure.
That's true. Yeah, for sure. So speaking of the big dollar, let's talk over to gambling. All right. So I just kind of wanted to bring this part up here just because I'm kind of knee deep into it right now. Not in the sense of, hey, Danny, I'm coming to move in next month because I can't pay rent. So I'm not that bad, right? But ups and downs, just like anything, just like life. Am I right, DB? Ups and downs. But it's I think, and then this is just coming from me, but there's a negative stigma on there that is kind of unwarranted. I don't think it's necessary to have such a negative stigma on sports gambling. What do you guys think?
Well,
I think
it's like anything, man. It's like marijuana, right? Like if you would have thought that when we were growing up that all these states would have it legalized for retail purchase, not even medical purchase, I wouldn't have guessed that. The stigma will be lowered as it just becomes more out in the open. I think it used to be like your degenerate uncle who would like sneak off to the side to go watch a NBA game at a wedding because he's got a bunch of money on the Bucks. Now it's really coming to the forefront. It's a conversation I have with a lot of different people that I meet. Most people who follow sports at least know that it's going on, and a lot of them are participating.
Right.
And as states start to legalize it, it opens up. But like in Europe, there are bet shops everywhere. I mean, literal bet shops. All you go do in there is you go place your wager, you get the ticket, and you're not sitting there having drinks at the bar. Um, it's very common there, and to throw some money on a game is not that crazy of a thing. I think it's probably very similar to like drinking beers, right? Anyone's, of course, there's going to be an outlier where someone's got an issue with it, whether it takes over their life or whether they're morally opposed to the concept. But the reality is, there's a lot of people who can go drink beers. There's a lot of people who can take a couple weed gummies before they go watch Uncut Gems at the movie theater. And there's a lot of people who can bet on 2 or 3 games a week and have a good time with it. And I think as it becomes more out in the open, you'll always have people who are opposed to it. But ultimately, the almighty dollar always wins, and the financial opportunity there is so massive for governments in the U.S. collecting tax revenue, and for sports being able to advertise it, that it's going to be a big part of what sports looks like for us as adults for really the remainder of our time as fans.
I will go with after Drew as so to go off what you were saying, Drew. I think actually this pandemic thing and everything that's playing out is actually causing states and governments to look at whether or not they want gambling revenue to be a part of their budget. And things are getting tough right now, so I think there will be a little bit more leniency towards it. It's definitely been pretty restrictive, but you have companies like DraftKings who are kind of finding loopholes around making it an international thing, and finding ways to take advantage of the local laws. People still think sports gambling is with the stigma for sure, but I mean, could definitely see states. Yep.
I know Danny's a frequent Vegas trip, and you went just recently, right? Like when everything was kind of on its way to getting shut down.
Yeah. Early March.
And sports had already stopped. Am I right?
No. It was still on. It was early March.
Okay.
So when I left, it was within a week that Gobert and the NBA shut down.
Yeah.
So it was right at the end of it.
Okay.
I would say that I think the reason there's a stigma on it is because of the way the stories are told based around the subject. You don't hear stories about people that have 9-to-5s that make an extra 5-10 grand a year betting sports because they're just good at it because they have their 9-to-5 or whatever. You only hear stories about people that bet their 401k, they get divorced because of it, they lose their house. And then the movies and stories we see on TV are all things like Uncut Gems or stories like that. Nobody wants to see a feel-good story about a gambler who like comes out rich, because it's just like, well, this is fake. No one's ever going to think that's real when it actually happens all the time.
Right.
And so
I'm
that's
living proof.
I think society has kind of geared how we view it, right? Because
Right.
Yeah.
the stories that have a lot of drama and a lot of like downfall, I think, sell the best, and so those are the ones that are going to get publicized.
Yeah,
I can see
and I
that.
think with anything, and DB kind of alluded to this earlier, was that it's up to the individual ultimately to be responsible with whatever you're doing, right? Whether it's smoking cigarettes, which you can go to the gas station and do, you're drinking beer, drinking liquor, whatever. I think I think it should be treated that way, where adults, can make their own decisions, and if it's to a point where they need help, just like there's rehab for alcoholism and drugs, there's rehab for this too. And so I definitely enjoy it. I think it's fun. It's a different way to watch a game. As long as you're not, as long as you're not spending too much money and losing too much money and
I always think of the guy sitting at the bar being really invested in like every single game, and you're just thinking like, how much does this guy have riding on it? He's about to lose his house.
So quick little story. I'll make it brief. I had a good friend of mine's dad goes to Vegas and throws down some cabbage on some bets, right? So he's sitting there at the sports book, and this dude is going berserk for every game. And so he's bet on some games, and he's stressed out too, because you're trying to win. And he goes up to him, he's like, man, what are you betting on? Because this guy is obnoxious. The guy's like, oh yeah, I got this, this, and this. He goes, oh, he's like, you mind letting me know what kind of wager you got on? He goes, I got $20 on all those games. So my friend's dad takes out his wallet, hands him the $60, and goes, shut the fuck up. So, it's all relative, right?
Oh yeah, and I've found myself, and I just hate myself after I realized what was happening. I'm watching a college basketball game, and there's 19-year-old kid playing for Duke who just missed his freaking free throw, and I'm like, just so upset with it, and I hate him. And he's just a little kid playing the basketball game. So that's where it's an issue for me, because I don't need to be reacting that way towards an individual person, especially if he's just playing for the love of the game, right? Because he's not making any money.
Yeah.
That's a whole nother topic, but we won't go into
That's
that.
another topic, but
he will go play out in COVID, but he won't make any money off it.
Anything that you do, you just kind of like, hey, you want to, make things interesting, right? Me, DB, and Rio in Austin, we used to go to this dojo, Kung Fu Saloon, and I'm sure Danny's been there before. We would go to, and they had NBA Jam there. And NBA Jam, me and Rio, we'd go. Loser buys a beer,
He's
right?
on
Loser
fire.
buys a beer. It's a $6 bet, but I'm just there trying to beat the hell out of Rio because I want my free beer. It's not because I can't pay for the beer. I can pay for the beer, but I want Rio to buy my beer. You know what I mean?
It never happened.
So NBA Jam, we had an article on this one this last week, and it's just
video
nostalgia.
game.
The first time I played NBA Jam was at Danny's place. It was a long time ago, Super Nintendo, and I was too young to realize what was going on. But I do know that for some reason it was just appealing, right? The slam dunks, the threes, the larger than life players on this looks like a small court, and they're just flying and breaking backboards, and it has stuck with me. Obviously has me a 2-on-2 aspect. So I ask you, Danny, I'll start with you. Who is your current NBA roster, NBA Jam squad you're taking?
Ooh,
current
man.
NBA. So here's what I said. I said I'm going LeBron and AD, because there's no way anybody is beating LeBron James and Anthony Davis. I think that's just a team that's stacked.
I think that's too easy. I think that's an easy choice.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go. As much as it pains me, I'm gonna go with Luka and Porzingis.
Ooh.
Yeah, that's a
I
good
Now,
one.
what do you think Luka's bringing, and what do you think Porzingis? Because in Jam, it's either you're a 3-point shooter, you're a dunker, or you can push the shit out of somebody.
I think they're both
Defense.
3-point shooters.
That's
Yeah.
defense.
I think they're both 3-point shooters, and you guys know the 3-point swings in that game. They're
Oh, yeah.
deadly.
Oh, yeah.
All
It's
right.
freaking ridiculous.
Yeah.
Here's who I'm going with. I'm going with those boys in Golden State, the Splash Bros. I'm going with. I know they're hurt right now, so people are forgetting about them. But
Let's go.
Steph is going to be consistently on fire. Clay is going to be consistently on fire. Like their ball is already on fire before the game starts. So
Dude,
I'm going with those
Steph,
two.
You're right, because in real life, Steph is draining them from just inside a half court. So an
Yeah,
NBA
he's like
Jam,
NBA Jam in real life.
yeah, exactly. An NBA Jam,
right.
he's draining them past half court easily. Yeah, that's
All
nice.
right, does
The
Steph
only
have
problem-
any defense? No, but
The only problem I have with that is that they're not like tough and they're not strong and they're not, they
No.
can't dunk.
I'm gonna beat them in real life like that because that's how they play in real life. They can't. Draymond Green was their best defender. Come on, man. They still won 73 games. Shout out to
Yeah,
them.
but there's like
I'll give a step
fouls in real life. There's no fouls in Jam. You know what I mean? DB,
Yeah.
who do you got?
You guys are crazy. There's one answer to this question, and I'm gonna talk about my hometown boys. James Harden, Russell Westbrook.
It
If
would
there
be a
was
great
ever
team.
a moment that Russell Westbrook was designed for, it was to fucking jam on the turbo and run.
Yeah.
He plays his game like NBA Jam, man. He's tough as shit.
Oh yeah.
Harden can knock down threes. That's the easiest answer in history. I don't think they're going to do shit in the playoffs this year, but give me those guys on a current roster, especially Russ.
Rockets
I mean,
would be good.
just think about Russ being all cut. He plays like NBA Jam, dude.
He does. He really
The
does.
turbo is always on like red. Like it's all the way down.
For sure.
Yeah, but he won't run out of turbo. I think that's the point DB's making. Like Russ never gets tired. He's like up and down the field, up and down the court as fast as he can. But to your point, DB, it sucks. They're not going to do anything in the playoffs, right? But me and Reyna used to play with.
Well, hold on. That was a whole hot take.
Me and Reyna used to play with C-Web and Chris Mullin, the Golden State Warriors, on one of the original jams, and that was a duo. But they didn't do anything in the playoffs. You know, that team wasn't very good. So yeah, that's funny. That's good. Danny, you got any old?
Daryl Morey analytics on NBA Jam. That'd be wild.
Danny, you got any old classic roster you like?
So back in I forget what year the game came out. I think it came out in '94. Mm-hmm. But back when the game came out, Blockbuster Video had a video game tournament.
Yeah, I
three rounds.
Man, we're old.
And the first round was NBA Jam. And so I took Sean Kemp and Gary Payton. I was about to take over the number one seed, the as far as placement goes for that first round, because I was about to break the high score. And Sean Kemp goes up and flips, and he goes down for the dunk, and it rim checks off. And I end up scoring one last point. Yeah. So I would take them because Gary Payton was a solid defender in that game, and everybody can pretty much shoot in that game. Some better than others, and then Sean Kemp could dunk. So I like that duo, Kemp and I also liked Alonzo Mourning and Larry Johnson.
Yeah. That's solid.
I looked this up because I had to do it at one point. Actually, one of the best rosters was John Stockton and Karl Malone. Because John Stockton's steal was so fucking good. It was like, he just fucking stole the shit out of the ball. Yeah. And Karl Malone was doing, that dunk all the time. It's a good duo in real life too,
There's a couple of strategies here. There's one strategy where you get a small guy and a big guy, right? Because even NBA Jam, they had the Spurs had Del Ellis and David Robinson, right? Yep. Del Ellis is nothing special. But for some reason, he's a good 3-point shooter, and he can shoot the three. And David Robinson was fucking all everything.
Probably one of the best players in the NBA at that point.
That was prime time David Robinson, when he was just like super jacked, fresh out of the Navy. and just running up and down the court, putting up quadruple doubles. I love me some David Robinson, but that's the strategy. Or you can go two middle-sized guys like Larry Johnson, Alonzo Mourning. That's a good one. And then a buddy of mine, he figured out a cheat code with my buddy Sal. He figured out a cheat code. Dennis Rodman and David Robinson, and they just bully the hell out of you all game long. Yeah, and I could do nothing with that, nothing against them.
Well, I think the game has a bunch of like positions in the court where if you're there, you're going to block a shot. I don't know if we figured that out at one point, but the game definitely has some gamesmanship to it. It's not.
Somebody made a good point on the comment of our Facebook post saying Kawhi and PG, but then Paul chimed in and said until Kawhi goes on load management and Paul George gets hurt.
It would be pretty good. I would have to think that PG would have a pretty high 3-pointer. They would have great defense. Kawhi would probably be one of the more complete players. Because in Jam, it's a weird thing. Like certain guys wouldn't be good in real life, or certain guys would be better in Jam than they would be in real life.
Right.
And their ability to push, their size, or their 3-point shooting.
Yeah. The real question is Rio gonna go to the dojo tonight and break in and play some Jam? It's possible.
Let's go, baby.
The dojo's closed.
What they do,
closed
baby?
for business.
Unfortunately. Oh, man, maybe we should rent out the NBA Jam from them or something, man. Just put it in your apartment. It'd be sweet.
I found that machine on eBay.
Yeah.
It's the 1-up size. Although they had the actual arcade one. I think that one was $3,000.
Oh, really?
It's totally worth it, though, I would say. Totally
500 isn't, I mean, it's a lot of money for sure, but just give me a week, maybe put some juice on some games, and then
you get your money worth.
But I mean, as you could tell, we could probably have this conversation all night long. And 3 of us are well versed in our NBA Jam game, and 1 of us maybe not so much. So let's include DB back into this conversation here, and stick with the NBA, this bubble that they're heading into, right? Like, what is that going to be like? In Florida this morning, there's an MLS game that was canceled because 2 players got tested positive for COVID. So they canceled the game. DB, you think we're going to see something like that in the NBA, or what do we do?
I really hope not. But the one role I would want right now, and I think one of the coolest opportunities that some of these people are having, would be to be a journalist inside the bubble, getting to see how these guys are interacting with one another. Like, are there bars that CP3's sitting at talking shit to James Harden? Like, the stories that are going to come out of this bubble that are either going to leak out or are actually going to be published are going to be unbelievable. So you think about the journalists that are lucky enough. I mean, they're making some sacrifices to be there, but this is career making. We're in an unprecedented time in the world, and I would love to be like the eyes and ears on the scene. You know, you buddy up to people and you just get to see what they're doing. I'd also love to teach Ben Simmons to fish. I don't know if you guys saw that video where he unhooked the fish that he caught and then throws him off like the awning.
That was a 3-point shot for Ben Simmons. I mean, that's outside of his range.
Fair. Somewhere there's a joke, but man, I hope it goes through. I know we talked about that last week, but like, to be in there and to cover that as a journalist, I think these players have such nice lifestyles outside of the game. For the players, I would think in a lot of ways their lifestyle is taking a step back to be inside the bubble, but to be a journalist and get to cover some of this stuff would be just unreal. Like, the shit talking between, I mean, it would be so cool to be in there. I'm really jealous of some of those people who get to see how these dudes live. In, you know, it'd be like isolating with the entire NBA, right? Like, pretty crazy.
So yeah, and a part of that too is, and they've kind of talked about it a little bit, is kind of a worry of the mental health of these players because they're going to be on lockdown for a couple months.
Yeah.
Like you said, downgrading in amenities. They're not living the lifestyles they used to live in. Maybe they're not eating the same movies. They're away from their family, the same meal. They're away from their families. Raina, how do you think that's going to look?
Yeah, no, for sure. I think this whole idea of everyone being in a bubble for 3 months at like, it might sound easier than to actually execute. And I do think there is going to be things where players are going to be like, man, this is, this is not what I signed up for. I think there could be a interesting reality TV show that could come out of being in the bubble because these guys are just bored. They're going to be bored, honestly.
Yeah.
That's what it's going to happen is that they're not used to just not being able to decompress anymore. They have to stay in their rooms and stay in this little contained area. And we're talking about playoffs are happening and competition that's pretty intense. And usually that I don't know. I think it's going to be interesting. I do think that they might have a little bit of a breakout. Hopefully they can control it. I would love to see the season go through with it, but this is a very different thing. We're telling NBA players you basically have to stay in this very small vicinity. They couldn't control these guys during season, these guys go nuts during the season, and now we're going to put you on extreme lockdown, and they're not used to that. And so that's a very different thing. I mean, I wouldn't be used to it. I mean, I'm not going to say I'm better than that. I'd be pissed off if I had to stay in my hotel for 4 months, but it'll be interesting to see how it plays out for sure.
For sure.
Right.
And
Malice at the Palace becomes Brawl in the Bubble.
There's and how will the actual gameplay be affected? Because home court advantage is out the window. Any momentum from the regular season is gone. It's a brand new startup. Not all the teams are there. There's a whole lot of variables that is going to make this season an absolute asterisk. And what are we going to be looking at? And this kind of ties into gambling as well, because I'm thinking, well, there's no telling how a favorite is going to act when they're in a neutral site in week 3 of being isolated. Like, is there who's mentally there? Danny, what do you think?
Yeah, I think the players are going to determine how much of an asterisk or how big of an asterisk is on the season. Because I think if you have some 7 or 8 seeds that figure they have no shot at winning anyway, and they're sick and tired of being where they're at, locked up, they're just like, whatever, let's just mail it in and go home. Right. And so I do think that it's going to affect gameplay on some levels. But we'll see at the same time too, right? For all we know, these guys have been away from the game and away from playing for so long that maybe they're eager to get back, and maybe that pushes up the competitiveness a little bit, which is what I hope to see. But I don't think it's out of the question to think that this will affect gameplay or has the capability to affect gameplay in a negative way.
Yeah, so it's very possible that this is kind of just a random champion, right? And so we'll end it with this last question and go around the horn here. Is which team will you be the most pissed off if they win the championship, right? It just win and just like, oh, that really, they won. I'll give you an example. Bill Simmons had a podcast the other day, and they were talking about the baseball season and which team would just be pissed off if they won. And they were saying the Astros, and it'd be really random if the Indians won or the Mariners won, somebody random like that. So here in the NBA, new startup, everything's fresh. Maybe even injuries have healed. Who are you really pissed off with? And I'll start with you, DB. Who are you really pissed off with if they win the NBA championship?
I'm going to give my second shout out to my hometown team. People don't like the Rockets. Daryl Morey started off the season. I don't know if you guys remember the whole China tweet thing.
Yeah.
Your guy LBJ lost.
We forget, right?
Your guy LBJ lost a couple shekels in his pocket.
He was awfully quiet during that time.
Decided to antagonize our friends in China. I just don't think they're a really likable team. I think the biggest star on the team, and Harden's not a likable guy. They're a team that could go on a run. Do I think they'll win? No. If they win a fluky one, people will be so triggered. And NBA Twitter is one of the darkest places on the internet. I would venture to say the Silk Road is safer than NBA Twitter at times. And so I just feel like if the Rockets somehow pull something off and claim a championship, that is going to be a team that people are like, fuck off. Y'all should not have won.
I think if the Rockets win, it'll be their third illegitimate championship.
Wow.
Well, I'm with
MJ.
DB here. I'm with DB here. That was my pick. Obviously, you heard me earlier. I don't like him. I love Russell Westbrook, but if the Rockets win this one, I would my head might explode. Danny, what do you got?
I don't think it would happen. Obviously, I think that's the premise of the question. I'm going with the 76ers.
Oh, yeah.
What's the process?
Yeah, because there was a lot of hype about him last year, and obviously coming in and having Embiid, and but yeah, I don't know. The other, I do have a second one, and that would be the Utah Jazz, only because of everything that went down with Gobert and all of the rumors within the locker room, and then for them to come back and win, that would be interesting.
That Philadelphia team you mentioned, I mean, that's one of the, I mean, they were lights out at home. Like they had like maybe 2-3 losses during the regular season, and now that they're not going to be at home, how are they going to look? So I think that one's funny. Reina, what do you got?
Who's going to be most pissed off that they win? It's probably going to be the Lakers. I feel like LeBron carries a very heavy burden every time he goes into the NBA Finals. The asterisk part of this situation, I think, is going to rub the LeBron James haters the wrong way. It's not a championship. It's not a complete championship. There is players who didn't come. So I think if LeBron wins, they're not going to count it. They're going to say, oh, it's not a complete championship. It's not the real way to do it. And they're going to try to discount LeBron. And unfortunately, the way LeBron operates, I think he's going to get they're not going to give him full credit. Let's put it that way. So the Lakers in general. And most of the people in the NBA hate the Lakers except anybody in LA.
And I hate that I agree. And I hate that I agree with you. However, the Lakers were one of the best teams in the league during the regular season as well. You can't forget that. But yeah, you're right, because
they're great. I mean, they're a good team for sure.
But as a Lakers fan, I do know, and as you guys, well-known haters of the Lakers, like everybody just loves to hate the Lakers, no matter what. Loves to hate them.
It's easy to forget, though, too, with the Lakers, the one thing that would help them out is if they won, again, going back to a different world, if they won because Kobe passed this season, I think some NBA fans would see some value in that.
Yes, I agree with that. I started thinking about that once we,
Not the same level of hate that a typical Lakers win would get, but hopefully that BBB LeBron doesn't get a title.
No, for sure. I think in that situation that people are going to be pulling for the Lakers for sure. I will say that for sure. Yeah, but in most situations, people do hate on LeBron, and he carries the extra burden very often.
I agree with that. I agree. Well, that's a great place to end. As we hear Kobe mention, I might end this call and go cuddle up in the corner for a little while. Thanks, DB. R.I.P. to the Black Mamba. But yeah. The week of January 12th, we got a new week ahead of us. Still no North American sports except for the MLS, which, it is what it is. We got some European soccer. That's kind of getting me by, but a couple weeks away from live NFL North American sports. I'm sorry, and hopefully it comes sooner rather than later. Knock on wood, everybody, because who knows if that's really gonna happen. Knock on wood if you're with me. Everybody Hard Knocks? Everybody watch Hard Knocks? Not gonna be with me. Goddamn John Gruden. Anyways. All right, boys. Hey, another week in the books. Another week of quarantining. Stay safe out there. You guys got anything? Last parting words here?
I got something for you guys. I booked a trip to Chicago. I will be sitting on the Wrigley rooftops, assuming, cross those motherfucking fingers, that the season gets going. I will be there for the third game of the season.
That's gonna be great.
Looking down on the rooftops, and the over/under on beers that day is dire.
I'm freaking jealous. I'm jealous. I'm taking the over.
We're getting back. We're getting back.
Raina, what do you got?
Nice.
Yeah. Nothing more than, I'm looking forward to seeing one more week develop sports. I think we're getting close. We're going to have a lot more to actually talk about. The Last Dance kind of was our saving grace. And now we're going to actually have real sports on COVID. So it's going to be interesting. So, yeah, looking forward to it.
Absolutely. Danny?
Thing I'm looking forward to are the tune-ups coming up to the Masters. Not that that's actually going to happen. That's usually it's a usual April holiday for me. I would say I enjoy watching that, and so yeah, we'll see. They're supposed to be down here. Supposed to be down here in San Antonio this week, but heat index has been like 107, 108. So
it's ridiculous.
We'll see.
All right. Well, hey, all our listeners out there, look out for more of our content. We got post articles coming out, some gambling picks. Go follow us. Sounds from the crowd. You guys have a good one. We're out.
Later.
Yes.